Everything is fine here on Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Mike, and oh my gosh, your name is actually correct on the tag. It's Dustin.
Hey,
It's no longer James. It's no longer Bob Saget. We're back to Dustin. Dustin has joined us once again to talk Star Wars, specifically Bad Batch,
Empire's
uh,
or Shadows
Shadows
of
of
the
the
Empire.
Empire. So Dustin has added a new background for those that are listening, and it's the first level of Shadows of the Empire game where you get to fly around as a snow speeder. The best level, well, one of the best levels
One of
in
the
that game.
best. Absolutely.
I miss that game. But yeah, we will be talking Bad Batch. So just going to throw the spoiler tag for season 3, episode 5, The Return. We'll be spending most of this recording talking about that. We're on a little bit of a time cut. It's late. We have work and we got to
It's
fly
late.
out
It's late for
tomorrow.
dads.
It's late for dads. And I have to edit everything tonight because we're flying to Kentucky tomorrow. So want to be able to get this out for everyone. So yeah, we'll probably 20 to 30 minutes is where we're going to keep it. Makes it easier for your listeners to be able to get through everything. I do, before we dive in, like I said, spoiler tags for that episode of Bad Batch, which we just finished watching. But before I get to that, I just want to bring up something that has been circulating around the social medias with Star Wars. The beer ads, the Chilean beer ads. So apparently when Chile first premiered the Star Wars movies, they did them all together, and they decided to do it commercial free. But to get ads in there, specifically ads for Cerveza Cristal, which is a Chilean beer, they spliced the ads into the actual movies. So, for instance, there's a scene where Luke and Kenobi are in Kenobi's home on Tatooine, and Kenobi is giving Luke, or reaching for the saber, his father's lightsaber, to give to him. And instead of grabbing the saber, he grabs a beer. There's another one where they're on the Death Star in A New Hope, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is going around and he's going, like, turning off the shield generator. But instead of like reaching for the latch, there's like a cooler built into the pillar, and he opens it up and pulls out a beer. There's another one where Luke is training on Dagobah with Yoda, and he's reaching like towards a tree, and then there's like a cutout in the tree, and there's a beer in there. They're all great. Like, just the worst, like, splicing and editing too, but just probably accomplishing the intended mean of it. And it's funny to watch. I would put it up, but we don't have the time, and they would probably mute me for copyright infringement anyway. So I'll
The
put up a
company's
link
still
or
around.
what's that?
If the beer company's still around.
Right. True. But I mean, I think it'd be more copyright in terms of the movies, like the Star Wars
Yeah.
movies, because if it's a certain amount of time, like 15 seconds, if they recognize it, then they'll shut it down for you. So we won't do that. I'll put a link up, that can take you to all of them if you haven't seen it already, but they're freaking hilarious. So I recommend it. Which is the one that you saw, the
Grabbing the lightsaber and then
lightsaber? Too good. Hey, maybe your brother can do the same thing with his Mirror Twin brewery and put some beers in there, some DetBlock beers in there. Um. So yeah,
Hey,
let's
just a
just
sidetrack because you got me thinking about this. He would probably want to do that more for Dune because he's a
for
big
Dune.
Dune junkie. And speaking of that, I saw the part two of Dune, the original book. It was awesome. It was. I'm shaking my head in just disbelief how awesome it was.
Yeah, my brother went and watched it, and I didn't know he was going to see it. All of a sudden, I received a text from him, and he's like, "Have you seen Dune 2?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't." And he's like, "Have you seen the first one?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have." He's like, "You need to go see Dune 2." He just got out of the movie, and he's like, it was absolutely amazing. So,
It's
and
worth all the hype.
there's a lot of, or it's mostly great reviews that I've heard. So
I haven't seen one bad one. So, I mean, talk about I mean, there was a joke when the like, and this is well before my time. Like the joke was like you could never adapt this book to film. Like it's just be impossible. And Dennis Villeneuve has done that with a plot.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. He's done so many good movies too. So absolutely excellent. Absolutely phenomenal. So if you're a Dune fan, or heck, even if you're not, like you should watch those movies because they do explain it in a way. It does help to read the books because there's just it's so dense. Like the books, first book's like
Yeah.
1,000 pages.
Yeah.
But once you get through that and you understand when they start getting later in the book series, it goes way off the rails. But the
Okay.
first like two, three books are really excellent. So
Yeah, I've never read the books. I have like I said, I have seen the first one. I feel like I need to rewatch the first one again before going in
that's what I did. I
and
rewatched
watching
it
the
like
second.
the morning before I went to go see it.
Yeah, because I've only seen it once and it was on an airplane. So you've got like that little
Yeah, yeah,
screen.
yeah.
So I feel like I need to watch it like
Yeah,
on my
absolutely,
actual.
dude. You absolutely need to do that.
So because and that one's what, 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours long?
It's 2.5. So
Okay.
it's not like I also rewatched the extended versions of the Lord of the Rings movies. It took me 2 weekends because they're just so long. They're
Yeah.
4 hours each. So,
On
but oh
average.
my God, those are excellent. I mean, there's some like
Yeah.
CGI moments you're like, ugh. But
I
yeah,
I can get past that. I mean, the same thing with like the original Star Wars trilogy. Like, there's some moments that are like, but like, it doesn't take you out of the story. Like
correct.
what with Lord of the Rings, with Star Wars, like there's such great stories that those little things don't take you out of it.
You know what did his hard for me this watch through is at Helm's Deep when the Rohan riders come.
Yeah,
That was so short a scene. I didn't realize like like in the movie theater when you watch it like or even like
that's one of the best parts in all the movies too. Is that scene
I don't know. My favorite is when they show up
and the third one?
at Gondor.
Yeah, that's
He gives that speech.
Minas Tirith.
Minas Tirith. Yep. Dad,
Yeah,
Dad. He's tapping all their swords. That was way better because this
yeah,
one they just show up and then they ride and then it's very short. So
yeah.
there was
But
not as much.
I'm saying that moment when they realize that they're there, like, and the music like hits you, like that's really cool. I wish it would have been extended out a little bit more. But you do get that same feeling in the third one. The only thing that ruins it in the third one for me is the freaking ghost army.
Really,
Like,
that doesn't. That's awesome. That's my favorite part.
it's such a cop out.
It's how else were they gonna? They were not gonna defeat them without something like that.
Well, I know that's what I mean. It's a cop out. Like they couldn't. There's no other
But that
means.
happened in the books.
Well, I know. I understand. It's more. I feel like a cop out, like from the writing. So like Tolkien, like I, I don't
No,
know.
man, I disagree vehemently because, like, even in the books, I mean, he's got to do a lot of work to recruit those damn ghosts. They're like millennials trying to get a job. You couldn't get him to get a job.
So why didn't they go find this army in the first place?
Look, man, you asked me to like rack my brain and go back into like exactly how the books went, but
It's like
I
how
think
people ask about the Eagles. Like, why didn't they? Now there's
that is
more.
hilarious. The Eagles
There
just
is
don't show
more,
up till like they're very like the second they're needed.
but there is a reason for that. Like, if you learn more about the Eagles and the whole situation, like there's a reason behind that. Um, but
I just love
from
like the reluctance of the elves to help men. It's like, well, I guess they're leaving, so I mean they don't really.
right,
I don't give a
they're like, we
shit.
want to go to the Undying Land, so yeah, this Middle Earth's going to hell in a handbasket either way. So we're just
Goodbye.
gonna we'll see you
Well,
later.
okay, well, like where are the dwarves? Like you would think that they would understand that, like, well, if the realm of man falls, you would just think Sauron's just gonna be like, oh, you guys stay underground. That's cool.
Well, like, I mean, Middle Earth is a lot bigger than what we see in the
No,
original.
I
So,
know.
so the dwarves are in their own, like, this is why I love YouTube, because you get these people that just like have
Yeah,
this in-depth knowledge of everything, and you get to watch like a 30-minute video and you can get like absorb all their knowledge that they spent all this work on doing. And so watch those videos about like the history of the Middle Earth, and it's fantastic. So you learn about like okay, the dwarves are there, but they're just elsewhere. They have their own conflicts going on. So that's what's really cool
Yeah.
about things like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, um, Harry Potter, Alien, like all this. There's like this expanded lore that so much you could dive into, which gives the opportunity for so many stories, which is great.
Yeah.
Which
But while we lost our entire Star Wars audience, we should probably get back to Star Wars.
right, which I was going to segue over to. Speaking of what?
Before we do, go watch Dune 2. Seriously. Not you specifically, but anyone listening, watching this, Dune 2 is a masterpiece.
For sure.
We're doing part 2. Anyway, continue.
For sure. So let's talk Bad Batch 2. As a reminder, we are live and we do have our chat working this time. So if you are watching us, give us your thoughts, opinions, and questions, and we will speak to those as well. Again, spoiler tag, you've been warned. I think it's safe to say we kind of expected kind of this out of this episode coming, just how everything was unfolding. I mean, we kind of predicted it. We're like, all right, there's going to be some mission that they're going to be on. There's going to be some mending that they're going to have to do with relationships, because obviously Crosshair has betrayed them in the past and now he's back. We've got to do some trust earning, and that's exactly what this is. And hey, we even have a creature feature situation as well. So
okay, but like, okay, we talked about how this one, like their themes, right? Where's this one going? You know.
I know where this one's going.
So like last week was Jurassic Park.
Yep.
This one was Tremors, like 100%.
Yeah, but we have seen that creature before. Do you remember where we've seen that creature?
No.
First episode of Mando, for season 1, episode 1.
I'm just saying that's definitely Tremors, and then they even played a little homage to Jurassic Park when she's giving him directions to turn on like the
Oh yeah, the sensor. Yeah,
that was definitely an homage to Jurassic Park. With the scene.
Yeah.
The gal finds the arm. It's just like
Samuel L.
Jackson's
Jackson's arm, right?
By the way, if I was that dinosaur's mom, I'd be like, you need to finish your food before you go play. Okay? Just leaving arms everywhere. Let's finish your food, okay?
Clever girl. Such a good movie. All right. So I will kind of dive through this. Dustin, again, as usual, just as I'm talking through it, cut me off and speak up your mind and everything. So I originally wrote, we start on the Marauder, but I don't know if that actually was the Marauder, because the ship that they took to the planet was not the Marauder.
It was Echoes, but it was the Marauder because Echo comes in that episode with his ship.
True. Okay. Yeah.
They do start on the Marauder.
So they do start in Marauder. Omega wakes up and it's like a bright, sunshiny day. She's got her little stuffed animal there. It's like this, oh, I'm back home type of situation or feeling. Hunter and Wrecker are there. They're like having their breakfast in like the main hall, and Omega goes and they greet her. And I think she like asks like about Crosshair, and they said he's around, but he's not there. And they tell her that, he's still adjusting to this whole situation. So Omega says she'll go check on him. So then we see Crosshair, and he's doing a little target practice with his sniper rifle, and he's with Batcher and AZ, the droid. And it's clear that like they're making an emphasis that his accuracy is not what it was. Like his hand is kind of shaking. Do you think that's like trauma related, or do you think just from the whole situation, like maybe he was tortured or something while in the Empire? Like, what do you think is causing his like shaking or lack of accuracy? Tourette's.
I don't know. I think it's probably a lack of confidence, and I think it's like a MacGuffin for something that's going to happen later in the season.
Well, and it definitely was. We saw glimpses of it even in this episode. So yeah, that's how I was interpreting. It's like foreshadowing something that's to come. And Omega calls him out. She's like, you're hiding something. And he's like, no, I'm not hiding something. I'm just practicing. And she's essentially talking about, AZ can look at your hand. We can get that fixed. And I like this line he says. So he says he's fine, and he says there's like, or no, Omega asks, so what skills are required in training for a sniper rifle? So she's trying to change the subject. And Omega, she's like trying to learn. She picks up all these things from everyone. She's picked up things from Tech. She's picked up things from Hunter. And so now she's trying to learn from Crosshair. And I like what he says. He says, being a sniper is more than looking through a scope. It's about patience, reading the environment, and knowing when you've got eyes on you. And like, he at that moment, he was sensing that he had eyes on him. And you've got Hunter and Wrecker that are kind of watching him with Omega. And then he's like, they don't trust me. And Omega says, give it time, but you'll need to talk to him. So this is clearly just kind of laying the setting.
I mean, pardon me if I don't. Like, I don't understand how Crosshair doesn't understand that they don't trust him. Like, yeah, you've defected back to the Empire.
Right. I mean, I would have to believe that he does understand, but I think the fact that he's helped Omega rescue or be rescued, that should be enough to not be like, oh, welcome back, but I don't know, to give him some leeway. I don't know. So obviously he's on their side now, but he's been known to jump sides quite a bit. So then Hunter tells Wrecker that it might not have been a good idea to give Crosshair his sniper back. And then Wrecker seems to already have pulled a 180 because he's like, well, if Omega trusts him, I trust him. Because it sure seemed like he did not trust him at the end of last episode just by the like grin he was giving Crosshair when they met. So seems like Hunter's the only one that's really holding back on this guy.
Here's the thing about Wrecker. He's really dumb.
Well, he's not as intelligent. I mean,
that's a line from Out Cold.
Oh, yeah.
Zach Galifianakis is talking about his brother.
Yeah.
He can't do anything else. He's really dumb.
I didn't pick up, but yeah, now I recall that.
It was kind of, out there, but
I mean, Wrecker's just a big, like, lovable animal anyways, so I can understand that. But then AZ tells Crosshair that his target success rate was 53%, which is below his average. Better than most of us still. And again, I just had this sense that this is going to play a role somewhere. And it made me think back to that episode. I think it was season 1. It's either season 1 or season 2, where Crosshair is like staying back in the ship and he's like sniping all the people at that like fortress when they're breaking into it. It was like some desert planet. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, not really.
But like every single shot he was making, it was just nailing it. So like his skill has clearly fallen quite a bit just through everything he's experienced. And then, so as this is happening, like Echo's ship arrives. They go to meet him. He's coming down the ramp. He hugs Omega and says he's glad she's all right. And Crosshair asks, why not? What? No hug for me? I thought that was hilarious. It's like, what? Not going to give me a hug? Obviously he was being sarcastic, but, and then Echo responds, depends on how your intel is. So now we're seeing Echo again, because we haven't seen him this season yet, have we?
Nope.
So the only one now we really, I mean, not that he's part of the Bad Batch, is Rex, but we've had his name dropped a few times, but I think we'll see him in the later episode, because the end of this episode, this is kind of the direction that Echo is going. So we then cut to all of them eating together. They're talking about the research facilities and the clones, Emery, Hemlock. So just talking about their experience there, trying to get some knowledge. They ask Crosshair for details, and he's like, I was a prisoner, so I don't really have much to tell, which is true, but also not true. I feel like there's still a lot that Crosshair could share about that. Omega says they still have a data pad, and they could use that to, for layouts and coordinates for the base. And Echo says it will be challenging to bypass the Imperial encryption without tech. So they're talking about going to a facility. And I thought this was an interesting moment because one of the questions I had coming into this episode is, does Crosshair know about Tech yet? About how he is, dead? And based on the reactions of all this, because there was like this moment of silence after they said that they panned to Crosshair, and you could tell that he already knew, because otherwise he would have been like, what happened? But so Omega must have told him at some point. Let's see. Crosshair says they'll need to plug into an Imperial terminal to bypass the encryption. Wrecker's like, where are we going to find one of those? And Crosshair says, well, he knows of one. And now seeing the episode, it's the facility that he was on previously, where he killed I can't remember the name, but it was
Whoever
an
the Imperial officer was.
Yeah, the Imperial officer. I'm trying to remember, was he stationed there, or was he like,
Weren't they trying to help get the situation under control with the Raiders?
yeah,
That was
well,
what it was. So
but
he
like,
wasn't
was he
stationed
sent there for punishment? Because like,
Yeah.
okay,
Because he was
that's,
getting on the line.
yeah. Um, so Hunter says him and Wrecker will go to the to search the facility, but Omega's like, I don't like it. Like, we finally get all together. We're a crew again, and now we're just going to split up. And there's like this moment of hesitation, and they never really give you any indication of, are they going to still split up or go together? But long story short, they end up all going together. And Crosshair did agree though with the original plan to split them up, because it's like, it's all about the safety of Omega. And Omega and Crosshair kind of have this, like, I don't know if you want to call it cute moment, but he comes off as being like protective of Omega, and then Omega's like, well, you're still my younger brother. So maybe a little unnecessary, but I think still very neat, because it's still showing that Crosshair still has care for Omega. And then, oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, my problem is like it's so unlike the Empire. Oh, we're just gonna abandon the base. It's still functioning. You think they'd like destroy it? Especially knowing that somebody's gonna know that this base exists.
True.
It just seems odd. Another thing that seems odd is like, okay, you're gonna plug into an Imperial terminal. Like, there's no like alarm bells that would go off. At the like nearest sector that like, hey, someone's accessing this at an abandoned base.
Yeah.
Like one of those two things.
Well, and this is the second episode in this season alone where there's like abandoned facilities that haven't really been destroyed. I mean, I know the other one was taken over by that plant creature, Sarlacc, whatever you want.
I can understand that, but like they seem to have the little tremor creature under control. So,
but the power was going to die soon, remember? So maybe they're like, as soon as the power dies, this creature's going to overtake it anyways, and that will be the means of protection and destroy it. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, just an observation.
And then Wrecker also does bring Crosshair a container that has his original uniform. So Crosshair is becoming Crosshair again as a Bad Batch member. So then we cut to Echo's ship, as we were talking about, and they're approaching this planet. Again, it's the same planet that Crosshair has been on before. They're picking up no life forms, and it is the whole crew. So they did decide the full crew will be going on this mission. As they're getting ready to search the facility, so they've landed, they're coming outside their ship. There's this like sense of something's out there, and Batcher is the one that's really sensing it more than anything. But even in the audio, you're listening and you hear this like tremor. So to your point, the movie Tremor, you hear this like tremoring in the ground. You're not really sure what it is, but you have this sense that something's out there. Again, there are no life forms, no nothing. And they said that Crosshair mentioned that the facility was remote, but he never said that it was abandoned. So they were like, all right, Crosshair, you're not telling us everything. You're not doing a good job of trying to earn our trust back if you're withholding some stuff like that. And again, Batcher notices something out there still. So then they look out and they see like a sensor way out in the distance, and come to find out it's like a perimeter protection, and it's for the local raiders. I don't know how that was going to stop from raiders, but do you think they meant raider, or Crosshair meant raiders as in actual people, or do you think he meant like this creature? Because I
No,
know
people. He meant
because
people.
I know he took care of raiders in the past, but
Yeah. No,
okay,
I think he meant people.
okay,
I don't think he knew that creature existed.
yeah, I didn't think so either, but I just knowing that whole situation in the past, I didn't know if that kind of overlapped, but and Hunter was like, well, how do you know that? Or how do you know that they're no longer there? And he's like, well, because I took care of them, or that the Empire took care of them. And he was insinuating that by meaning, he was part of that essentially killed off all the raiders. So, and then him and Hunter get in this kind of argument, little tussle, but nothing too major. So then they enter the facility, and they figure out, we got to get this power up and running. I'm trying to think.
So I think at that point they divert power from other sources in the base, and that's what sends the sensors off.
That's right. That's right. Because they're like, we need to divert power so we can get the information that we need. And they do that. And then again, just more noises, more
Tremors.
tremors of something going on out there. And then Crosshair, he's searching the facility. I thought this was a really neat scene. And he comes across like all these abandoned clone helmets,
yeah.
clone trooper helmets that are just kind of scattered on the ground.
And he goes on the crate.
Yeah, he goes up to him and he starts like putting them like in order up on a crate. And to me, that was like out of respect. And I think one of those helmets was the person he befriended that he tried to rescue, but obviously ended up getting killed. I think in that episode, if I recall. So, and Hunter's kind of watching him and he notices this. So I think he kind of senses like, okay, there is still some kind of loyalty that Crosshair has to the clones. So we then see the sensors power down and everything has been diverted to the panel that they're working on. And then as these tremors are kind of taking place, Crosshair starts walking out and Hunter's like, where are you going? He said he's going to go check the perimeter. So Hunter follows him and Crosshair's like, are you just going to be my shadow over this whole situation? And essentially Hunter confronts him again. Like, there's still something you're not telling us. And he's like, why did the Empire turn against you? Like, did you betray them like you betrayed us? And I thought that was kind of a little bit of a jab there. And Crosshair, he didn't come. Did he tell him everything at this point?
He just told him he killed an Imperial officer.
And that was pretty much all of it.
Pretty much it. Yeah.
So, and then that's when that creature appears, right?
Yep. And then they run back to the door. That flimsy little door somehow holds back that probably like 400-ton creature.
That's right. And so then they kind of create this plan. All right, we're going to have to get these sensors back on because the only way we're going to get our ship is we got to get this
the ship gets knocked down into a ton of snow.
Yeah.
They're somehow at the end of this episode, they could just dig out with like the tiniest little shovels you ever saw.
So they have to come up with this plan to get the worm beyond the perimeter. And then once that worm is beyond the perimeter, they can turn on the sensors again. Once they're able to get the power back and running, and then they can escape.
I mean, that's another homage to Tremors, because they did that like in the movie where they would like have the thing chase after them to go to other places, right? Like Kevin Bacon basically did that.
And the only safe spots were on like big boulders, right? Like big rocks.
Again, I mean, sometimes they're getting a little too on the nose with some of these, but
Yeah. And so when the worm does like show itself, as I mentioned before, we have seen this creature before. It's on season 1, episode 1 of Mandalorian. It's the thing that comes up and grabs the ship before they're taken off. And who's like that comedian guy that's always like an extra? He's on like Big Bang Theory, and he was like the person driving the land speeder, and he got eaten. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Um,
Kind of a taller
Camille?
guy, glasses.
Oh, I,
I don't know his name, but it's the creature that like ate him in his speeder as he was driving away. Um, so the plan is Hunter and Crosshair are going to, you know, get the worm to cross the sensor. Echo is going to go up in the tower and he's going to be like the eyes for everyone. And Wrecker's going to go and try to restore power. And then Omega will be at the computers where they've been. And they're obviously successful. They make it work. Like as they're going, Hunter falls into like a crack. So then Crosshair kind of has to be like a navigator from above. So they have to trust each other to resolve the situation. They do. And as they're running back to the sensors, of course, they get there just in time. And then they share this little nod moment like, okay, thank you. You're earning my trust again. And we're all good and gravy. And then the episode kind of ends where Crosshair, he's standing by the ship. Hunter walks by him, and then Crosshair calls back to him. Let me see. I've got this written down somewhere. He's like, I thought I knew what I was getting into with the Empire. I thought I was being a good soldier. And Hunter responds, nobody really understood what was happening back then. And Hunter's like, I've done things. I've made mistakes. Or no, sorry. Crosshair said, I've done things. I've made mistakes. And Hunter reassures him, I have regrets too. All we need to do is keep trying to do better. Who knows? There might just be hope for us yet. Crosshair looks up and he sees a vulture that he saw earlier in the episode. And it was the same one he saw on that planet before too. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then the ship takes off and they leave. So
oh, they again miraculously undig themselves out of all that snow with like spades,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah. I mean,
So
they did say they were looking for a weak spot in the tunnel, but still, just not a suspension of disbelief just isn't in there for that situation. So I mean, a fun episode. Again, we kind of predicted this. You're trying to build that trust within the group again with Crosshair coming back.
it was a fetch quest creature feature.
Yeah,
And that was what it was. So
I
you knew it was
I
going to happen. No big
yeah,
deal. Kind of furthers the plot just a tiny little bit. So
I am glad though that I'm sure it will kind of span on to a couple more episodes, but it did seem kind of fast in earning the trust. Even, excuse me, even like when the episode first started, to me, it didn't seem like there was as much tension there as there was where we left off from the previous one. Because I mean, when they first saw him, they seemed like they wanted to just kill him. Like, oh my God, why are you here? But then they're like sharing a meal over a table, figuring out plans on how to get intel all together. So I think they're rushing it on a little bit to get to where they want to get in this season to get to the main points. So I
I'm
do.
fine with fine.
Yeah,
We
I'm
need a lot
totally
of
fine.
sappy romance. Like let's
Right.
get back to the Empire doing some, dastardly planning.
Right. Exactly. Um, so yeah, I mean, it was an okay episode. It was fun. Um, I like some of the tiebacks to previous episodes in the season. Um, I like that we're getting Crosshair back and everything. I do have one question that I've seen circulate a lot based off of the previous episode. and it's around like Omega's blood. Um, people are split between does the fact that her blood is setting off these sensors, like her blood is the right blood. Is it because she's force sensitive and she has midichlorians in her blood? Or do you think it's more because her blood is susceptible to accepting in um, midichlorians for the cloning purposes? Do you understand like the difference that
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what if she's got like Palpatine blood in her or something like that?
I mean that's another angle you could take if like
I'm sure they'll explain it. So, I bet she's force sensitive.
so you're leaning on the side of force sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm still torn. I don't know. So that's why I'm kind of asking the question. But because I could see it both ways.
Well,
Uh,
we're gonna find out. I bet they'll explain that.
yeah. Um, anything else from your end on this episode or the direction the show is going so far?
The direction is where we think it's going. So, I mean, I'm enjoying the season. It's probably one of the better ones. There's some hokey stuff like you would find in any animated show, but I mean, God, episode 3 of this season, just what I mean,
Well, I'll say 1 and 3. I really enjoyed 1 and 3. 2 was good. Um, what and this was 5, right? Because we got
yeah,
1, 2, 3, and then 4. Yeah.
yep.
I've liked them all. This one's probably the lowest, but still good. Um, but yeah, I've been enjoying the ride we've been on so far for this season. So good job, Filoni. All right. So I know we're getting close, or well, we are beyond the 30 minutes now. So I will wrap this up. Just speaking to our social media handles, you can find us on Twitter at DetBlock AA23 pod, on Instagram at detention underscore block underscore AA underscore 23, and then our Facebook group and YouTube channels, Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. And hey, I will make the call out. It is official. We now have another platform.
Oh
We
boy.
are we are on TikTok now, at DetBlock AA23 pod. So come check us out there. Posting some short video. We're neither one of us are TikTok people, so we're diving into this for the first time. So go easy on us on our little TikTok clips, but we'll have fun with that. We're going to use it for some competitions for this weekend, opportunities to win prizes. So come tune in with us. Come and find out what those competitions are, and make your submissions when we do it. And just on that note, just reminder everyone, we will be in Kentucky. We'll be in Lexington at Mirror Twin Brewing. So if you're in the Lexington area on Friday and or Saturday, come stop by, say hi, come talk with us. We're going to ask some questions. So, well, our own little
We're gonna
trivia.
get good and drunk.
Well, I'm
Somebody
not
will.
allowed. You and your brother probably will. My medication will restrict me from doing so. Not that I
You could
would
just do
in the
all your
first
14
place.
beers in one night.
No, well, I'm not allowed to be intoxicated with my medication. So it's not just spreading it out. I can't do all 14 of my points in one day. And I'm not that into heavy drinking in the first place. So, but we will enjoy some beer. We'll have some fun. Come have some fun with us. Um, yeah. So with that, any closing thoughts?
Go see Dune Part 2, and then another show I've really started enjoying is Ted on Peacock.
Oh, I do want to see that
That's
too.
wicked funny.
Is it funny? Is it as good
It's
as the
really good,
movies?
man. It's
Okay.
like it's like Family Guy on like if Seth MacFarlane had no restrictions on what they can do.
And I mean, Ted's voice is Peter Griffin's voice, like almost to the T. Just Well, I guess Peter Griffin is from the East Coast anyways, so they're both from the East Coast. So
Yeah,
because
Rhode Island and then Boston.
Boston. So yeah.
It's good, man. It's really, really good.
I've seen a few clips that look pretty funny, which is what piqued my interest. So yeah, I'll come check it out. And wait, what you said Peacock?
Yeah, it's on Peacock.
Okay. Yeah, I've got Peacock, so I'll be able to watch that. Cool, cool. Well, with that, thanks for listening in. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and we'll be coming to you soon. And I think Dustin and I might do a few little videos either at the airport or beforehand and keep you updated on how everything's going. And then we'll talk to you over the weekend at the brewery. So as always, I will end it with may the force be with you.
And also with
For also with us this weekend.
yeah, and also for our livers.
And also thankful that we're not doing a Boeing plane.
Yeah, I just watched something on Boeing, and their safety records have gone down a little bit.
Don't ever look at things like that the day before you go on a flight.
Still the safest way to travel, like not even close.
Right, exactly. So hopefully we will see you on the other side this weekend. All right, we'll catch you all later.